How's it going, everyone? My name is DestinyElement. Hope you guys are all doing well, and we are back with another Honkai Star Rail video for today. And it's been about a week since I've uploaded. I've been on vacation, man. I've been enjoying my summer, but we're back. We're on the PC. We're playing Honkai Star Rail, and I've been grinding, and I've been trying to build up Silverwolf because I've been having a really good time using her. Like she is, honestly, I feel like she's a really good asset to my team, and honestly, to like everyone who's summoned for her, like she is, she's phenomenal. I really do like her kit. But in today's video, I wanted to talk about Silverwolf and specifically how to build her, because there is a lot of confusion when it comes to building her, and specifically there are a lot of good options that you can run on her. But in this video, I'm going to be talking to you guys about personally what I think is the definitive best way to run her and to use her, specifically if you're trying to optimize her debuff and to, get as many debuffs on the enemy as possible while also keeping good uptime as well on them. So, we're going to go over Silverwolf herself, what she does, what she can supply for the team. We're going to go over light cones, her best in slot, some alternative options for her. We're going to go over her traces, relics that you can run on her, and we're going to be talking about her Idolons. And then we're going to wrap up the video and talk about team comps she fits really well on. So if you guys do enjoy the video, leave a like, comment, subscribe. It really does help me out. If there's anything that I maybe missed out on in this video, let me know in the comment section. She's definitely a really good character, and I know there's definitely some confusion with her, so I may miss out on some stuff, but if I do, you guys can correct me in the comment section. So without further ado, let's get into the video. Okay, so getting into Silverwolf, I want this guide to obviously be as short as possible, and I want it to be simple, straightforward, and easy to understand. Silverwolf is a quantum nihility character. She specializes in single target debuffs. Now, her being a quantum character means that whenever she breaks the enemy's toughness, she's going to be able to delay their action, slow them down, more importantly, but she's going to be able to apply entanglement and deal additional quantum damage. So overall, this is a really good debuff to have on the enemy to go along with her very oppressive kit. So the first thing I wanted to talk about with Silverwolf is basically her light cone, her best in slot, and then I wanted to talk about free-to-play options that you can run on her because, not everyone is going to be able to get the 5-star light cone. So let's get into that. So getting into light cones, obviously her best in slot is going to be Incessant Rain. This light cone is super good, obviously, because you're going to get the 5-star light cone base stats, but more importantly, it has a very good passive. This is going to increase your effect hit rate. It's going to increase your crit rate by 12 if enemies have 3 or more debuffs, and then it's also going to be able to supply you a new debuff called Ether Code, and this is going to increase the damage that enemies receive by 12% for one turn. So overall, it is a very good light cone, but I don't think it's mandatory. If you are someone that wants to whale in this game, or if you're someone that has been saving for Silverwolf and you want to min-max her, then obviously this light cone is going to help you. Something else to know is that if you do have this light cone, you will have some freedom when it comes to building Silverwolf. You're going to be able to pump more damage into her because you do have this effect hit rate, and you also have this 12% crit rate as well built into the passive, so you're going to be able to have a little bit more freedom when it comes to your stats. But overall, I do not think this light cone is mandatory, and even if you do run a 4-star light cone or some of the free-to-play options I'm going to go over, your Silverwolf will still perform really well. So I don't think this light cone is mandatory, but it's just kind of like a nice convenient light cone to have if you are using her a lot. But now we're going to get into the free-to-play options, and I'm also go over her second best light cone in my opinion, so let's get into that. So I think her second best light cone is actually before the tutorial mission starts, and the reason why I say this is because as a nihility character, she is someone that has a lot of debuffs, so you want to make sure that you can land those debuffs. As we get further into endgame and we start getting harder content, we're going to get more boss enemies and just more content in general where the enemy has very high effect resistance. So because they have that effect resistance, you want to make sure that you can have 100% uptime on your debuffs and that you're consistently proccing them as well too. Now, I know there was an update and I'm pretty sure they nerfed enemies and they lowered their effect resistance, but still you just want to make sure that you can constantly hit them. I was looking at a lot of information on Silverwolf, and the goal for her is to have 97% effect hit rate. So you can reach 97% pretty easily, and that is why I say before the tutorial mission starts is her second best in slot, because you get 40% effect hit rate, and then you also get 8 energy whenever you attack an enemy that has their defense reduced. So the reason why this is super important is because you could basically run this light cone, run effect hit rate on the chest piece, and you also get 18% effect hit rate from her traces. So this is going to make you hit that 97% very easily. Now obviously if you have Idolons on her, specifically her second Idolon, the requirements for that effect hit rate will be a lot lower. But if you're someone that has her at Idolon 0 and you're strictly free to play, this will give you the most consistent results with Silverwolf. So in my opinion, I think before the tutorial mission starts is probably her best free to play slot. You're going to get basically a huge percentage of the effect hit rate that you need, and you're also going to regenerate energy as well too. So you're going to have very good uptime on your ult, and you're just going to have very good uptime with a lot of your rotations on your team. Now the second light cone that I would recommend would be obviously Welt's light cone. In the name of the world, because this is going to increase your damage dealt to enemies by 24%, obviously if they're debuffed, and it's also going to increase your effect hit rate as well whenever you use your skill, and it's going to give you an attack increase. But once again, you want to make sure that you have that 97% effect hit rate, because you want to make sure that Silverwolf can constantly land all of her debuffs. So even though the 24% damage increase is nice and the 18% effect hit rate and 24% attack is nice, in my opinion, I feel like Silverwolf is a character that you want to make sure has constant uptime, so you're not really worried about how much damage she can pump out. So at the end of the day, it's like if you're not running her best in slot, I would recommend running before the tutorial mission starts. I just think that's probably the best thing that you could run on her. But in the name of the world is also a very good option as well too. I would probably say this is the third best thing that you can run on her. As for the other ones, you do have Good Night and Sleep Well. This one is also extremely good because for every debuff on the target, you deal 15% increased damage. So Silverwolf has no problem proccing this passive, so you can easily get that 45% increased damage, or well, I guess 45% for me because I have it as super imposition too. But yeah, it's a pretty nice passive. It's not too bad, but unfortunately this light cone isn't going to give you any effect hit rate. It's not going to give you energy, so having that uptime on your ultimate is going to be a little bit harder. But yeah, and then the final option that I honestly recommend would probably be Eyes of Prey. Like if you have no other light cone in your box, if you don't have the battle pass, if you have no 5-star light cones, if you maybe log in late to the event after this update is over and you can't get the free light cone they gave us, then I would probably say Eyes of Prey is, you know, your next best option, because it's going to give you effect hit rate, and it's also just an easy light cone to get in general. So overall, I would probably say that's your best pick right there. There's obviously going to be 3-star options that you can use, but I only like to cover the 5-star and 4-star options. So yeah, overall I would probably say her best in slot is obviously the limited light cone. Then you have Before the Tutorial Mission Starts, In the Name of the World, and Good Night and Sleep Well. I would probably say those 4 light cones are gonna, you know, make your Silverwolf perform the best that she possibly can. Now, the next thing I want to talk about obviously is her traces and what she does in her kit and what talents should be leveled up first. Now, getting into Silverwolf and her traces and her abilities and what they do. So to start us off, we have her basic attack. This is going to deal single target damage based off of her attack stat. Then we have her talent. Her talent is really good because she's able to apply 3 different debuffs to the enemies. She can reduce attack, defense, and speed. And all these debuffs last for 3 turns. This is really nice because this is 3 enemy turns, not 3 Silverwolf turns. So, you know, if you can imprison the enemies, slow them, freeze them, outspeed them, or advance your own action, basically, these debuffs are going to be on the enemy for quite a bit. Like, you don't have to worry about reapplying them because they last for such a long time. You're more worried about if you can apply all 3 of them at the same time. Now, the next thing in her kit is obviously her skill. This is probably the most important thing in her kit. Now, you have a certain % chance to apply 1 weakness to an enemy, and whatever weakness you implant on the enemy, it's going to lower their damage resistance to that typing by 20%. Now, something to understand is that say you have 2 quantum characters, 1 lightning character, and 1 physical character. your chances of applying a quantum weakness will not be higher than lightning or physical just because you have more quantum allies on your team. Every single typing has a equal chance of proccing on the enemy. So if you have 4 different typings, you're going to have a 25% chance. If you have 3 different typings, you're going to have a 33% chance. If you have 2 different typings, it's obviously going to be a 50-50. That's why running Silverwolf on a mono quantum team will probably be the most convenient, because no matter what, you're always going to get that quantum weakness implant, and you're also going to be able to guarantee yourself that your quantum characters will do more damage in general. So overall, I would probably say running her on a mono team, or like a 2 element team, so like 2 physical, 2 quantum, or 2 lightning and 2 quantum. That would probably be your best bet, because you don't want to keep on using her skill to cycle through weakness implants, because it's just not convenient, and you want to be able to conserve as much skill points as you possibly can. Another important thing in her kit is that she can also lower the enemy's all type resistance by another certain percentage, and that's really good, because between the weakness implant damage resistance debuff and then the all type damage resistance debuff, like it's a pretty big chunk of the enemy's defense that you're taking out. And then finally, we have her ultimate. You have a very good chance of applying a defense shred on the enemy. So me at level 6, I'm reducing the enemy's defense by 40%, and she also has a really nice multiplier as well too. Something else to note is that this defense shred, this is going to go off first before her damage is going to go off. So you're going to be able to min-max your damage pretty well with Silverwolf. Now, looking at her kit, it's really strong. You have a attack, defense, and speed reduction. You have a massive defense shred as well too. You have pretty nice single target multipliers, and overall you're also able to lower the enemy's damage resistance to a typing by I want to say at least like 30%, because you get this 8% here, the 20% from here, and then you also have her bonus abilities that I'm going to actually go over. But finally, we do have her technique. So her technique is able to destroy an enemy's toughness no matter what typing they are at the beginning of battle. And this is really, really nice in my opinion. Like, I think this is probably one of the better techniques in the game, because you give yourself an edge no matter what battle you go into, because the enemy's toughness is already going to get chunked by a pretty good amount. And I really do like this technique. Getting into her bonus abilities, you have Generate. So every time she breaks an enemy's weakness, she's able to implant another bug on them, and this is also going to increase the duration of those bugs as well for another turn. So it's 4 turns, like that's quite a long time. Next up is Side Note. If the enemy has 3 or more debuffs on them and you use a skill, that skill is going to decrease the enemy's all type resistance by an additional 3%. So that's what I was talking about. You have the 20% from her skill, plus an additional like 8% currently for me at level 5, plus the 3% from this. So yeah, like the enemies are gonna have a pretty big chunk of their damage resistance like taken from them. And then her final skill is gonna be Inject. This is gonna increase your weakness implant duration by 1 turn, so you're gonna get that nice 3 turns for the weakness implant instead of 2. So overall, it's really nice. And then you have her bonus stats, so you get an attack increase, an effect hit rate increase, and then you also get quantum damage increase. So it's pretty good. Her having effect hit rate is going to make building her a lot easier, like I said. So if you run before the tutorial mission starts, and then effect hit rate on the chest piece, and then you max out her traces, hitting that 97% will not be hard, and you're going to be able to have some freedom to build her for damage, or build her for some speed, or build her for energy regen. Like overall, it's just going to be really easy to build her if you just max out your effect hit rate early. But next up I want to talk about is relics, and what relics are super good for her, so let's get into that. Okay, so getting into the longest section of this video, most likely it's going to be her relics. Now, I've seen a lot of people build Silverwolf in different ways. I'm going to give you guys my personal opinion on how to build her and what I think is best for her if you're trying to utilize her debuffs, and if you're trying to have 100% uptime on her ultimate while also still pumping out a considerable amount of damage. Now, I recommend Genius of Brilliant Stars. This is going to increase your quantum damage, and it's also going to give you 10% defense ignore on enemies. You also get an additional 10% defense ignore if the enemy has quantum weakness, and this is going to be super easy to proc because Silverwolf can implant weakness on the enemy. So quantum characters such as Sealy, Silverwolf, Xing Shui, and any future quantum characters that we have, they're going to have a really easy time using this set because Silverwolf is able to implant that quantum weakness on them. Now, you can run a second set on her. I recommend Musketeer Wild Wheat. This is going to increase your attack, and it's also going to increase your speed. So Silverwolf is going to be able to outspeed enemies more often. But I would only recommend this set if you are at the beginning parts of the game or even mid parts of the game. But once you start farming for relics, I would say your stamina has better investments if you were to just go for like Genius or Brilliant Stars. Now, I do want to talk about the main stats. I want to talk about the main stats on the 4-piece first before I talk about the 2-piece set, because the 2-piece set is a little bit more confusing, and depending on your light cone and your main stats on your 4-piece, that can determine what 2-piece set you want to run. Now, for your helmet and your gloves, you're obviously going to have flat HP and flat attack. For your chest piece, I recommend running effect hit rate because with before the tutorial mission starts and effect hit rate on your chest piece plus her traces, you are going to be able to maximize your effect hit rate, so you don't have to worry about that stat whatsoever. So you're going to be able to land more debuffs on the enemies. And then for your boots, I recommend speed. This way, Silverwolf is fast enough to get her debuffs out first before your DPSs, and she's also going to be able to attack more, so that means you get more energy as well too. So overall, I recommend Genius to Brilliant Stars with effect hit rate and speed. Now, as for the 2-piece set, for your orb, you're gonna want to run quantum damage bonus every single time. You want to run quantum damage bonus because you want Silverwolf to attack harder, and she's gonna scale better with quantum damage than attack percentage. Now, as for the rope and for the 2-piece itself, now this is probably up for debate. In my opinion, I think her best 2-piece set, if you are running before the tutorial mission starts, is Sprightly Von Whack, or Von Quack, however you want to pronounce it. And the reason why I say this is because before the tutorial mission starts is going to give you energy whenever you attack an enemy that has reduced defense. Von Whack is going to give you 5% energy regeneration rate. Now, if you run this 2-piece set, and if you run before the tutorial mission starts, you can ult, use your skill, and then do 2 basic attacks, and you should have your ultimate every 3 turns. And this is going to give you 100% uptime because your debuff on the enemies lasts for 3 turns. Now, I've seen people say, can't you run energy regeneration rate on the rope? And while yes, you can do that, energy regeneration is going to overcap your energy, and it's also going to make it so that even though, yes, hypothetically, you probably could get your ultimate in less than 3 turns, why would you want to? Because your debuffs last for 3 turns, so it's kind of a waste of a stat. And not only that, that overcap of energy regen, like those stats can go towards something else. So in my opinion, if you're running before the tutorial mission starts and you already maxed out your effect hit rate and you have speed on your boots, I recommend going Sprightly Von Whack. This is going to give you all the energy regen that you need. It's going to advance your action forward as well too, and you're going to be able to consistently ult as well every 3 turns. You can just use your ult, use your skill, and then use 2 basic attacks, and then you should have your ultimate back and you're ready to go. Now, for the rope, I recommend attack percentage or break effect. Now, I think attack percentage is going to scale harder, but there is a chance, I have to do some testing, that break effect could also be really good too, because you have an easy time breaking the enemy's toughness with Silverwolf, and you also have her skill that you can use before the battle starts. The only issue that I have with break effect is that for you to get the break effect damage on Silverwolf, Silverwolf has to be the one to break the enemy's toughness, so you're better off just running attack percentage, because that way the enemy is always gonna, take a good amount of damage from Silverwolf instead of relying on RNG to break the enemy's toughness. Now, that's basically it. Another thing I also want to mention is Pangalactic. The reason why I don't recommend Pangalactic is because even though it does give you 10% effect hit rate, and it's increasing your attack as well by 25% of your effect hit rate, it's just not necessary. You're overcapping on effect hit rate for no reason, and the scaling that you get from this is not worth it. Like, you're gonna scale way harder with an attack rope than whatever attack increase you get from Pangalactic. So in my opinion, I just don't think it's worth it. So at the end of the day, you're gonna have flat HP, you're gonna have flat attack, you're gonna have effect hit rate on the chest piece, speed on the boots, quantum damage on the orb, and then attack percentage or break effect on the rope. As for substats, I recommend running break effect, speed, crit rate, and crit damage. That way you have a decent amount of attack. That way, whenever you do break the enemy's toughness, that break effect is going to be able to increase it by a little bit, and speed is going to make sure that Silverwolf can attack consistently and more often. So overall, I would probably say that's her best set. If you do have Incessant Rain, if you do have her best in slot Light Cone, then I do recommend running something like crit damage maybe on her chest piece, but that's only if you can fill in the prerequisite for her effect hit rate. So yeah, I just feel like you should be able to utilize her debuffs first before you decide to go for any type of damage on her. So yeah, once again, effect hit rate on the chest, speed on the boots, quantum damage on the orb, and then attack percentage on the rope. And I recommend running Sprightly Von Whack because this is going to give you the energy that you need so that you can constantly ult every 3 turns. And I guess if you really wanted to, as a second option, I guess you could run Pangalactic, but once again, like, if you're already running before the tutorial mission starts and effect hit rate on the chest piece, then you really don't need Pangalactic. It's just not necessary. But yeah, that's basically it. Pretty easy stuff. Now, the final thing I wanted to talk about is her Idolons and, you know, just how good they are. And then we're going to wrap up the video and talk about team comps. So let's get into that. Okay, so getting into Silverwolf's Idolons, she has a lot of really good Idolons from what I was checking out on her. But basically, her first Idolon is going to regenerate energy based off of the amount of debuffs on the enemy. So you can generate up to 35 energy for yourself whenever you pop your ultimate. This is extremely good, and this is once again why I say you don't need energy regeneration on your rope, because you're overcapping on a stat and it's just really not necessary. Like, sure, you can probably ult every, I don't know, 2 turns, or just, you can probably ult in less than 3 turns in general if you have her at Eidolon 1, but like, why would you want to? Her debuffs are up for 3 turns at least, so it's not really worth it. Her second Eidolon, in my opinion, is her best one, because this is going to reduce the enemy's resistance, effect resistance, by 20%. So what this does is that 97% effect hit rate that you need is actually going to get cut in half. So instead of 97%, you really only need about 50% or 45%, if I remember correctly. So if you do have this second Eidolon, then you have a lot of free reign to run her as like a sub DPS. But overall, it's a really good Eidolon. Her third Eidolon is going to increase her skill and talent level. Her fourth Eidolon, after she uses her ultimate to attack an enemy, she deals additional quantum damage equal to her attack for every debuff currently on the enemy. So overall, like, this is a huge damage increase, because most of the time you're probably going to have like 4 or 5 debuffs on the enemy. So it's a nice damage increase. Her fifth Eidolon is going to increase her ultimate and her basic attack level. And then finally, we have her sixth Eidolon. For every debuff the target enemy has, the damage dealt by Silverwolf is increased by 20%. So this is ridiculous. Like, her second and her sixth Eidolon are so insane, because what happens is that if you have her at Eidolon 0, you're kind of stuck running her as like a debuff support with like suboptimal damage. But if you get her at Idolon 2, it kind of reduces the effect hit rate that you need by like half, so you can build her with more damage. And if you have her at Idolon 6, your damage increase it's just ridiculous at that point. Like, she's gonna hit like a truck. So it's really good. She's definitely a character that gets way better with Eidolons, and you know, her role becomes more of like a debuffer to a sub DPS, and it's really good, honestly. I don't think she needs her Eidolons though. I mean, her first and second Eidolon are definitely a nice quality of life change, and like they're definitely really convenient, and they can help you out a lot. You know, they can help you get more energy, and they can definitely help her like with her stats, so it's like easier to build her. But I don't think it's necessary for the most part. But you know, she does have a really good Eidolon tree. But finally, we are going to talk about team comps and where Silverwolf sits right now and what team comps fit really well on her. So yeah, let's do that. Okay, so we're back at the data bank to go over characters and team comps that work really well with Silverwolf. So Silverwolf has a lot of invaluable debuffs, and her oppressive kit definitely leaves the enemy with nothing to defend themselves with, and I really do like that. I think Silverwolf works with a lot of different characters. The problem with Silverwolf is that you don't want your team comp to be swamped with a bunch of different typings, because what happens is that when you have a bunch of different typings on your team and you finally do use your skill to implant a weakness, you're most likely going to be cycling through her skill over and over again until you can get the weakness implant that you want. And obviously you want to get that from the get-go, from the beginning. That way you can conserve skill points and you can use those skill points on other team members. So in this instance, the first team comp I actually recommend is Silverwolf, Sealy, Tingyun, and Bailu. This way you have a 50% chance of proccing Lightning or Quantum. You have Tingyun, who can supply buffs for the team, regenerate energy. Bailu's able to heal, and you still have the defense shred and the massive damage coming from Sealy. The second team I actually recommend would be Silverwolf, Sealy, Clara, and Natasha. This way you have a 50% chance of proccing physical or a quantum weakness. And Natasha is going to be able to heal your team. She can dispel debuffs, and more importantly, you have a character like Clara who has damage mitigation and a higher chance to be targeted in general. So this is going to make it so that Sealy can do more damage and Silverwolf can still apply her debuffs without taking damage either. Now, you could also run a character like Jingyuan with Silverwolf. You could do Jingyuan, Tingyun, Bailu, and Silverwolf. This way you have 3 lightning characters on your team, so you still have a 50% chance of proccing quantum or lightning weakness implant. But the thing is, like, when you have characters that are resistant to lightning, having that lightning implant from Silverwolf could be really beneficial. That way Jingyuan can still do a lot of damage, break the enemy's toughness, and his lightning lord could also still do a lot of damage. Now, overall, there are some other niche teams that could possibly work. So you could do Sealy, Silverwolf, Tingyun, and probably like Natasha if you don't have Bailu. You could also do Sealy, Silverwolf, Bronya, and Natasha. Now, even though I do not recommend running 3 different elements, I guess if you're using Silverwolf strictly for her defense shred and the debuffs that she gives, then I guess it doesn't really, I mean, I guess it's fine for the most part. I think it's more convenient to have more characters of the same typing on your team. That way you're able to have more consistent weakness implants of the typing of your choosing. But if you're more worried about like debuffing the enemy as much as possible while buffing yourself, I honestly think Sealy, Silverwolf, and Bronya could work really well together until we get like maybe a wind healer or maybe like a wind tank, you know. Unfortunately, Bailu and Natasha are the only healers that we do have in the game, so if you do want to roll the dice and, you know, use that can definitely work. I think Natasha overall is just a really good healer to have in general. But yeah, I would probably say that's it for Silverwolf when it comes to team comps and her kit in general. I really do like her character, and I feel like this is a character that's only going to get better in the future. I think her kit allows that, her versatility allows that, and overall, like, the scaling of her debuffs and the dramatic difference she makes for your team when she gives those debuffs to enemies, I think is really important. But yeah, I mean, she's only going to get better in the future the more quantum characters we get. And I feel like with the amazing supports that we have so far, like Bronya and Tingyun and Yukong coming in 1.2 for free, I think Silverwolf can honestly do really well, even if you are trying to hyper carry a DPS and you don't get the weakness implant. Like, overall, she's just a really good character. I'm probably going to do some testing to see if I like attack percentage on her rope or break effect more on her rope, but I'll probably keep you guys updated with that. But thank you guys for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If there is anything that I maybe missed out on with Silverwolf's kit, please let me know in the comments section. You know, I don't really know who I'm going to do a guide for next, and I know I'm gonna have another tier list video out for you guys because I need to update the tier list and add Silverwolf and Genuine. But yeah, thank you guys once again for watching and all the support. So I will see you guys in my next video. Peace.